Hello everyone, this is part 15 of my How to Write a Book series. This, I think, is going to be the final part, and it's because at this point, if you've been following along, you should already have a fully written book that is probably already published or on its way to being published, and this part is about marketing. Um, just for a quick intro, my name is Hope E. Davis, and I am the published author of 7 novels, 4 of which are thrillers, 3 of which are romanticises, and I've got at least 2 more books coming this year. Um, I'm not famous, but I do work almost full time as both an author and ghostwriter. So without further ado, here we go on marketing. I do just want to preface this video by saying part of marketing a book is being flexible and knowing what works for everyone else may not work for you. You have to be willing to pivot at a moment's notice if something isn't working for you, and you have to be prepared to try and to fail first before you find your stronghold. So what that means is I'm gonna be giving a lot of marketing advice. You don't have to take all of it. You don't take any of it. This is just to give you some ideas of some ways you can market your book, and I will tell you what has worked for me versus what has not. Um, the best way to market your book, and this part is unfortunate, is social media. I have tried both being an author who is not on social media and one who is on social media, and I can tell you right now, when I was off of social media, I barely made $100 a year. On social media, I tend to make about $100 a month, which again, this is nothing to write home about. I do have some better months and I have some that are slightly worse, but I do see a steady income with being on social media. So I highly recommend that you make social media platforms on every single platform you can, first of all, and then just keep the ones active that you are good at and that you see returns on. I see the most returns on TikTok and Instagram, so that is where I am most active, though I do obviously have some activity here on YouTube as well. So once you have social media profiles, one of the main reasons I say you have to have them is you can run ads. Ads have done very well for me in the past. I especially did well with Meta ads. Currently, I am working on Amazon ads, which I don't think I've quite figured out yet, but I do see a return on these. It can be hard to spend money on a book that you've already spent so much to bring to market, thinking like, oh, I'm just throwing this all down a well. But my advice is if you are on the platform you plan to advertise on, look at the ads that you get for you and that work for you and try to recreate those with your own book. For me, I usually do character art or the cover with a quote or with a snippet or with a trope. Trope lists tend to do well as well. Whatever works for you, keep doing it. Ads are really the only way I've seen authors really get ahead, which it sucks to say that. I mean, there are a few other ways I've seen authors get ahead, but a lot of this has to do with luck. So the only way to control your own fate as an author is to run ads. And also, side note here, running ads when you only have one book is not near as profitable as running ads when you have 2, 3, or 4 books. So if you are an author right now and this is your first book, maybe don't jump on the ad train yet. Wait, and I'll go through what else I'm going to say, but just know that someday you'll probably have to run ads. Um, some other ways of advertising include in-person events, and I've had both positive experiences at in-person events and negative ones. You have to be prepared to take a loss here as well. I have traveled to almost all events that I do, and because of that, events can either make or break my day. Mostly because if I travel for an event and I don't sell any books, I am much deeper in the hole than just the table fee. So my advice when picking events is pick ones you can drive to at first, especially if you have small margins. This way you can go home every day, you don't have to buy a plane ticket, and you can bring all the books with you. Number 2 is I recommend only doing events that are transparent about how many tickets they sell. If you have an event like, oh, we're gonna see how many tickets we can sell, not good enough. When you have an event that the event says, yeah, we've sold 500 tickets, probably worth considering. Also, only pick events that focus on readers. I get invited to a lot of events that are like Renaissance festivals that are, gaming, like cons, and those you just don't sell as much books because the people who are coming there. So say someone's like, yeah, I've sold 500 tickets to my cosplay convention and I want you to be there as an author. That's great, but know that cosplayers, while they might buy some books, they are not there for books. They are there to cosplay and to see others in cosplay. One of my worst events ever was actually an art festival, and that's just because even though I sold 8 books, but that did not cover the entry fee. And people just weren't there for books, they were there for art. So only do book events. And then my final suggestion when it comes to events is pick events where the table fees are low or reasonably low. I say this because some of the really nice events have table fees that are $500 and up. And actually, I'm about to do one of these myself, but I'm doing it because I have several books and several editions of my books to try to sell. But these can put you in the hole fast just because you're paying so much up front to be there and you haven't even bought the books themselves yet, which you have to resell. So I recommend paying no more than $100 table fee per day per event. That means a 2-day event, a $200 table fee is reasonable. A 1-day event, you shouldn't be paying more than 100. Some of my worst events ever have been ones that had table fees that were like 175, 200 for a single day, and I just didn't sell enough to make that back. Of course, there are exceptions to this. There are some really, really big events that are just 1 day and the table fees are like $300. But again, I got to see ticket sales. I got to see proof of those ticket sales before I ever recommend that you go to them. And no matter what event you choose to go to, just be prepared to take a loss at first. I did not start making money at events until I had 5 published titles. So we've covered events and we've covered ads, which are the 2 ways I spend the most time marketing. Of course, there is social media marketing in general, where you just reach out to people, try to see if you can send your book to a big book talker in exchange for either a review or for them to post it. This works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. One thing I found is sometimes the big platforms, their readers or their watchers are not very engaged, and this is usually a loss if I'm sending to someone who's just showing it to no one or to people who don't engage. Also, again, make sure you send to someone who is in your genre, who is a good fit for your book, that you see recommending other books in your genre. Which brings up the next thing. Some creators will do this for free, most will not. So you have to be prepared to pay. I have paid, I think the most I've paid is 600 for a collab. The least I've paid is 180, but it does add up really fast. So I really try to limit my collabs, mostly because I don't see that great of a return from them. I've also, some of the creators I enjoy working with have some of the least return, which sucks because then, of course, the ones that I maybe didn't enjoy working with tend to have a better return. But yeah, in general, I just did a collab recently, but I don't really plan to do any going forward just because of the cost and the fact that I haven't seen a return on it. And this is something, again, I just learned along the way. You can also look, if you live somewhere where there's a local bookstore or a local cafe or local coffee shop, see about selling your books to these locations to be resold, or if you can come do a signing, especially at a bookstore or cafe, or if you could do a reading, anything you can do for free. Locally, they'll be more willing to allow you to do that. This is especially true with Barnes & Noble. Most Barnes & Nobles do allow local authors to come in for a signing. And this is just a good way to get yourself out there in the community. My first book signing at Barnes & Noble, I sold out. This was in 2018 of my thriller books. And not only that, but one of the people who took one of my books ended up recommending it for their book club, and that got me quite a few sales. I always, always, always recommend local events. There's no reason not to do them because, again, you're local. You could just walk home when you're done. And the worst thing that can happen is that no one shows up, which has also happened to me. But you know what? I had fun. So local events are great. There's also, you can collab with narrators. You can just, sometimes I honestly, I'm part of a lot of groups on Facebook and I go through and see if there's any posts that where I can recommend my book. For this, make sure that you're in groups that allow author self-recs. If they don't, then you're gonna get yourself banned. This is really tedious. I don't see a lot of sales from it, unfortunately, but a lot of these groups will also allow you to post release day, which has been very helpful to me. This is, of course, not the end with marketing. There is more. I think this is the bulk of the way indie authors do it. If you have more suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments. I honestly feel like I've done everything by now, and the ones that have worked are the things I listed here. So if you have any questions, let me know. Comments, suggestions, I am here to hear it all.